Hey, it's Cullen Moss, and you're listening to Fandom Family Chats.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fandom Family Chats. I'm Jeanette, and today I'm joined by Amanda.
Hello.
Shelby.
Hi.
Tiffany.
Hello.
Our guest today is Cullen Moss from Outer Banks and One Tree Hill. So
Hey,
we're really excited. Big fans of both shows. So
we are.
We're real excited to talk to you today.
Well, glad to be here, y'all. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tiffany has some questions to start us off.
I do want to say, most of us have been watching The Staircase. Huge fans. We love it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thanks so much. Yes.
Yes.
I'm really psyched about that one. Proud of it.
You should be.
What a cool show to be a part of. Yeah.
Yeah. I literally just finished episode 4, like right before I hopped on here. So
That's a good one, isn't it?
It was really good.
I'm on 3. Shush.
I won't say anything.
Spoilers.
Just a lot of good family.
I know the story.
A lot of good family dynamic comes out in the and 4. It's it was what a cool show. Glad y'all are enjoying it. It's quite it's a big leap from from Outer Banks or One Tree Hill for that matter.
It is. It's a really different role for you, which was awesome.
Oh yeah. It was. I felt it's the minute that role kind of came into my sights, I was like, I can do this.
Yeah, we were all just saying like before that we were really impressed about you did really great in these episodes, and we were saying how impressed we were. So
thanks a lot.
Let's start from the beginning of your career. Did you know that you always wanted to be an actor?
I knew I enjoyed it. I knew I probably didn't see it as a career path, but I just knew that I liked pretending to be other people. I liked telling stories. I liked, anytime I would tell a story or retell a story, I'd take on the voices of the people involved, like whether it's a family member or a friend or whatever, and I'd have to kind of become that thing when I was whether we were playing cops and robbers or whatever. And so I just knew I liked the idea of telling stories and being outside of myself. Honestly, I enjoyed that. So there were times where, not necessarily an actor, but I wanted to be maybe a spy or a private detective, somebody that could wear disguises. I asked for a lot of fake mustaches and stuff for Christmases. Yeah. Now I can grow my own. Yeah,
grown
but
so much.
It did turn into a more self-aware, more higher awareness of that acting was something I enjoyed. I mean, my parents got me lessons as a kid, to put me into classes with some really good teachers, from starting when I was 6 or 7, and in Winston-Salem, and had some great teachers who made it fun and really, helped build the basics, and so yeah, it was something that was always in my mind, but it was, as far as a career, that probably didn't really evolve until later on.
It's funny you mentioned playing cops and robbers, because I was going through your IMDb page and you have played a cop or guard almost 20 times.
A lot of that. So I think it was a natural progression, to finally get to be a DA in The Staircase. Yes, a lot of cop roles. I don't know what it is about me, just a short, squat Irish looking dude. I don't know, cop. And not just cops, usually kind of unsavory cops have been what I've played. But I'm grateful for it. If once you can complain about being pigeonholed or whatever, and or cornered into a certain kind of role, but there are worse things in the world. If somebody looks at you and goes, hey, he can play this dirty cop, why not? If that's getting me work, I'll do it. And I try to make sure that they're all different. I try to make sure they're not that it's not just like this cookie cutter cop thing. With so many cop roles, I try to make sure that I'm specific and in each one. And a side note, not only have I played that many cops, 3 times I have played cops who've met their ends by zombies. So
I love
zombie cops too. Yeah.
I love zombie movies. So
Dead. If there's one you should dig up and try to find called Dead Heist. It was an indie movie from years back. A friend of mine, Angus Hooverus, wrote it. My friend and Bo Webb directed it. Bo Webb is one of our camera operators, and he's DPing this year on Outer Banks. Dear friend from Wilmington, but I think Bo directed Dead Heist, and it was billed as a hip hop zombie heist movie with Bone Crusher, Big Daddy Kane, and zombies in the bank heist, and my friend Michael Braxton and Dom Santana was in it. Who's played Suge Knight in a couple of things. Now, anyway, it's this crazy cast, and I played this deputy. John Stafford plays the sheriff, but I played this deputy who gets attacked by a zombie, comes back as the zombie deputy, then gets killed by the zombie killer, Big Daddy Kane. Spoiler, but check out Dead Heist. It's fun and ridiculous.
I just wrote it down. I'm going
Dead
to.
Heist.
I love
Yeah.
ridiculous movies, so actually I'll check that out. So
Yes.
It's a lot of fun.
Can you tell us a little bit about your time on the One Tree Hill set? And do you have any favorite memories or favorite scenes?
God, it started so long ago.
Yeah.
That was almost, I began almost 20 years ago on that. That's insane.
It
Yeah,
doesn't feel that long ago.
No,
we
it doesn't.
rewatch it often,
We were in
so it
high
doesn't feel that
school,
long ago
so-
for us.
I mean, my oldest son was born between the pilot and when it got picked up. And so, and he's turning 19 this month. So, that's wild. Man, there's so many good times on that set and on that show, in no small part because of just all the wonderful people in the cast and on the crew. And I was living in Wilmington at the time when I got cast in it. So it's just it's a rare treat that you get to work in your own backyard. And so I got to work at home. I just had a kid, was able to come home at the end of the day, and had this recurring role. The Finn Cannons were the casting directors, the regional casting directors who have cast me in so many things. And I had I was kind of newly on the scene. I mean, I had not had an agent for very long. JTA has been my agent since I began out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Anyway, I got in there, and it was just how fortuitous. I mean, to get to work in Wilmington with those great people, it was always fun. And a lot of my stuff, working with Vaughn Wilson, who played Fergie, we were the smoke and fire there, Junk and Fergie. But it was us and Antoine, and Lee Norris and Colin Fickus, who was Jimmy Edwards.
Yep.
The late Jimmy Edwards. But those guys were all just so fun. I mean, just when the cameras weren't rolling, we were always having a good time. Yeah, everybody was very kind. Some of my fondest memories are probably, I mean, just there's this ridiculous episode where Junk and Fergie had become roommates with Mouth.
Yeah.
And we come home, and there was a water gun fight with milk or something. It was We were like, what the hell are we doing? Just we hope nobody we hope they don't go slow-mo with this. And we're jumping over furniture, and it was kind of choreographed water gun fight. I mean, that was a lot of fun. Anytime working with Jackson Brundage, who played young Jamie, was always a good time. He was just a sweet kid, and he was a fun element on set. Yeah, it was the one where he winds up, it was sort of the homage to Home Alone, and some other stuff where Fergie and I were supposed to be babysitting him, and then he locks us out and winds up pelting us with with paint guns. That was a good time. Yeah,
That was a good one.
Yeah,
Good episode.
Yeah.
good times, good memories.
So what about the OBX set? Do you have any favorite
Man.
memories?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm still making them. We're in season 3 right now. Yes, one thing, and this is also true of the Outer Banks. I mean, of One Tree Hill. The people on the crew are such an integral part of that. Obviously, the people behind the camera, they create our world, and what you see. And Wilmington boasts some of the best crew members ever. I mean, just and coolest people. Our sound guys. We got Mike Rail and all the Cargioli brothers, and just crazy. Just we get Bo Webb, the camera folks. We had Peter Kowalski there. Anyway, just all these crazy good and fun people, just people you want to be around. And that's when the cameras stop rolling, that's so fun. And just so you have this family there, and that's the case on Outer Banks. A lot of that crew, I mean, it was kind of one of the heavier roles I've been given when that came along to get Shoupe. And so it was a little daunting to know that I'd be carrying as much water as I was, but it was a relief to get to set and see how many of those people were North Carolina crew members that I'd known throughout the years from other projects. That was it's always a great comfort. Our first AD is Michael Jefferson. This season we're working with Scott Saber. I mean, these are all friends. I mean, real true friends. And
I knew that name.
Scott Saber.
Yeah, I know that name.
Scott Saber.
why.
Yeah, he's AD'd for a while now, and good dude. And he used to wrestle. Yeah, everybody working with the Pates, working on Outer Banks has been really cool. Jonas and Josh and Shannon writes also. They're very collaborative. They've kind of opened up to letting me bring whatever I wanted to Shoupe, and help me kind of allowed me to help shape who that was. So yeah, it just the collaborative thing on those guys have been really cool about just handing us the ball sometimes and just saying, all right, what. I mean, they have a clear picture and a clear vision of the stories that they're telling, but they're very generous and the kind of creative input they give to us and allow us to have. And so again, that cast too is so fun to work with. All those young beautiful actors are just like, the energy that they bring is really cool and contagious. I mean, so in all the scenes with them, they again, we're allowed to. There's some level of improvisation every now and then that either we resort to or that is handed to us. Like, just be like, all right, yeah, do it by the script, and now kind of feel it out. And if you there's something your character would add, throw it in there. and so that's usually the case with them. There's a lot of spontaneity among those guys, especially Rudy, especially who plays JJ. He'll throw in some random shit in there, and so will and I mean they all will, and it's nice to to get something unexpected thrown at you in a scene because you respond honestly, and like it's easy when I'm in Shoupe's shoes to when something's thrown at me, I've got I know I know some Shoupeisms. I know what he'd fire back with, and it's fun to get in those scenes. Like once they kind of get cracking and there's like a real dynamic, everybody's really in the pocket and feeling it. And we've got great directors, Valerie Weiss, Jonas is always a joy to work with. Yeah, that's an incredible group of folks. It's fun. It's always fun.
It's good to hear.
I would love to have an opportunity to do an episode where I'm in my civilian clothes. So I'm always in the tan polyester, and it's warm down here in Charleston, and it's not always the most comfortable costume, but I can't complain too much. What a role! It's a great role, great writing. So
it's a great show.
Yeah.
It really is.
We're looking forward to season 3. Anything you want to tell us about it?
Not a thing.
You tried to trick him, didn't you?
Try.
No, and honestly, I don't know that much about it. I mean, I know what I'm involved in, and I just beyond that, I don't. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, I'm not. I don't have all the information, and if I did, I couldn't.
He couldn't tell us.
I don't want you to tell me anyways. That's part of the
no.
Gosh,
It takes the
Tiffany.
fun away.
We're all very excited for 3 though.
Yeah, we're all a little obsessed with Outer Banks. We pretty much binge watched it like basically one night.
Yeah.
It's bingeable. I enjoyed the writing and everything, but I mean, I could tell, or thought I could tell when I was reading the first season. I was like, this probably isn't. I'm not the demographic they're aiming at, and it might not be my bag. even though I was in it and enjoyed all the actors. But once I watched it, I was like, I got hooked. I was like, okay, okay, yeah. I like The Outsiders. I like Goonies. I like all this drama.
Yep,
like
that's where we
Treasure
kind of came from too.
Yeah, the Goonies, that's the same thing. Me and my husband, we were watching it. We were like, this is like the Goonies, like, except for like, it's like the new spin on that. So I mean, we said the same thing, but it does too.
And it's great. I mean, just how lucky I feel so lucky to be a part of not just a successful show, but a good show with good people involved. Like all those kids, they're not kids, but
They feel like it to us,
they're all sweet and still, and still humble and and grateful. So that's great, and but they deserve every bit of success that they're getting. I think that's just so wonderful. I mean, most of them were relatively unknown stepping into this show, and that will not be the case. It's not
unknown now.
No, and they're just, and it's cool to say and really mean that they're just all good people, and that's not always the case.
Yep, kind of the same thing happened like with One Tree Hill. There was a bunch of no-name people in that one show made their careers. I mean,
they had, it's funny, the when you're working with actors that young, I guess there aren't that many people who are established that would jump into an unknown entity like that. So the names were like Craig Sheffer and Moira Kelly, and Barry Corbin played Coach Whitey Durham. The Moira, and it was cool to have those those seasoned people around. I think that's a good design. They're there to kind of help usher and dispense advice to the whippersnappers that are coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of those folks, those One Tree Hill actors, man, just good. Yeah, they weren't known, but most of them kept their heads and and are good folks. I keep up here and there, like with Hillary and with Colin Fickus, with Lee Norris and those guys. And yeah, I mean, we all communicate. And Antoine, social media is a beautiful thing sometimes, and sometimes horrible, but at least for
Yes.
keeping up with people, it's a good thing.
We've noticed you've been in 3 Nicholas Sparks movies. Do you have a
Yes.
personal connection with him, or is that pure coincidence because you were in Wilmington?
He's my father. No, it's just pure coincidence. They happened to shoot those shows down there, and I got to audition for them. The Dear John, which was the second Nicholas Sparks project that I did, that shot here in Charleston. That was directed by Lasse Hallström, and who I admired as a director. I think he's really great. And then Safe Haven was the same director. So I think, I'd like to think that Lasse, remembered me well enough and knew that I could handle it. So that might have had something to do with the third, what made the hat trick there, the Safe Haven. But yeah, just they shot in the Southeast because that's what Nicholas Sparks writes about. So yeah, we got to do that. But that's one of the benefits of having, I think a lot of actors down here, myself included, there comes a point when you're auditioning for stuff and you feel like you've hit a ceiling or whatever. There comes a point where you get impatient and you want to go into the bigger pool. You're like, LA or New York is calling. I have many friends who did that, and I never did. And part of it was because my family at the time, but I never did. And the other part was just utter fear of getting lost in the shuffle. But I think I benefited greatly from having stayed in the Southeast because so much has come through here and so many quality projects, and there's so many. There's just a really good talent pool down here. It's not just there can be a stigma around it, like the kind of the local yokels, and that by the time they're casting in the Southeast, they get to regional casting, get to these wonderful casting directors, which is not to belittle them or belittle regional casting, like the Finn Cannons, Tracy Kilpatrick, there's RPM casting, Jackie Birch, like all these like wonderful casting directors that I've worked with that are regional. They've got an important job, and it's easy to view that as just like kind of whatever's trickled down to them, and that we get the leftovers. But I've gotten a shot at some good stuff ultimately, and it's and I know other people whose careers have grown similarly. Just put in the time long enough. And if I ever had fled to New York or LA, I probably would not have amassed the credits that I have on my resume. They got me doing the headier stuff that I'm doing now. I had to kind of slog through some cop number ones and the one-liners and stuff, and and now I don't do that anymore.
You're a DA.
Barely.
It all paid off, right?
And knock on wood, poo. Everything's finite. So.
So the character you play in The Staircase, Jim Hardin, did you study the real Jim Hardin for your character, or did you put any of yourself into the character?
I did. I studied. There's not a whole lot of me there, because he's a real person. I mean, I certainly, as an actor, you relate to you relate emotionally, you know how, you understand the emotions. You don't detach as a human. You figure out the connective tissue between you and the person you're playing, whether it's a real person or one that's fabricated from the ground up. But being that he was real, yes, I studied him intently and watched the documentary, watched way too much court TV, that whole case. I mean, I watched so much of it, and lots of interviews with him, read articles about him, and then ultimately, once I got the role, Parker Posey, who plays Freda Black in the series, and who I just adore and admire so much. She's just one of my favorite actors, has been before this show, and to get paired up with her was just a real dream. It was so cool. But she reached out to me after we got cast, and we found out that we were going to be the prosecution team. She said, "Hey, let's talk to Jim." So she arranged a Zoom call with Jim Hardin, and we spoke to Jim in this very seat. I was sitting on a Zoom call with Jim Hardin for almost 2 hours, and he talked to us and gave us a lot of insight about who Freda was, because unfortunately, Fred is no longer with us, and Parker didn't have that as a reference. But to have Jim's insight about her, and just to get him speaking to us one-on-one was so beneficial. Like, just to get this very human side of him, just the side that's not in a courtroom or in front of microphones. Just to have conversation with him was great. And he's a great, generous guy. And so, yeah, I did study him and wanted to, and he's got such a specific way about him, and definitely a specific way of speaking, that Durham dialect. And he's just so kind of methodical, and, as he puts it, professorial in his approach, that I wanted to get that, because anybody who's familiar with the documentary or with the story, those people will have their eyes out. And the other not every actor is obligated to do that, but he was so particular. I wanted to do that with him, and I knew that Parker was going to be pretty particular with Freda, so I wanted us to be balanced. So
you're a great team. You all did fantastic together.
Thank you. I think so too. I'm hoping we get to team up on something else sometime.
That'd be great. We'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. We're gonna do the spinoff. Yeah.
There you go.
Hardin and Black. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
So the different parts you've played, do you have a favorite role that you've played so far?
Favorite role. I don't know. Some of my favorite roles were probably roles that I got to do on stage. Back in Wilmington, did a lot of theater there. But I mean, I'll say one. I'm terrible at absolutes. I live in a fuzzy world. Jim Hardin was one. I mean, in part just because of the experience, just that whole experience, and who I get, and teaming up with Parker and working with Antonio Campos. Jim Hardin was one. Favorite, I don't know. I got to play this guy Tim, who was an interesting, complex, weird character in a show called Happen Leonard. In the third season of that, that was a fun kind of oddball character to portray, who had some significant demons under the surface and stuff, to play something like that. That was a lot of fun. And then to play, I was in the Underground Railroad, Barry Jenkins, the limited series, and I played this guy Judge Smith for that. one, again, that was just a dream project to be a part of. I mean, Barry Jenkins is brilliant, and the story is just brilliant and heartbreaking. And anyway, to play somebody from that time finally, like, who was a little more nuanced than I've played, like the slave catcher and white. There aren't that many white dudes on the right side of history in that region in that time, and so, but I did, it was a little more nuanced, and he was more benevolent than a lot of the people of that period that I played. So that was, but still not perfect. I mean, there's still the good is relative, and your morals are relative along the timeline. And so the good guy back then still has some iffy morals and ethics, I think. But that was a really cool role too.
Something we ask everybody is there a favorite TV show that you would love to have a chance to work on, or a favorite actor you would love to work with?
Oh man.
So many options.
I know. It's just there's too much. And this is not so that's probably not a popular or smart answer to give, but one of my favorite shows was Louis on HBO.
Oh yeah,
it was a brilliant show, and just shows like that have that kind of tone, that are funny, but it's not a yuck comedy. I mean, because I really do love comedy, and I wish I had more opportunities to do it. And I try to imbue a lot of my characters with a little bit of humor, because even in the darkest times, I mean, there's something funny. There's and that show was funny, but didn't shy away from sadness or tragedy or what, and it didn't shy away from seeing the humor in intensely sad or weird or screwed up situations. Stuff that's just nuanced like that would be like, I would love to be a part of something like that. I mean, and you can even I'm trying to think of other shows, like Barry is a show right out there right now that's
one of my
like
husband's favorites.
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's hilarious, but then it's so
dark too. It's dark
yeah.
and hilarious. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many out there, but shows of that ilk kind of are draw me, and for that matter, like Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad. I mean, those like really dark shows.
Usually every time we ask anybody this answer, our two most popular answers are Breaking Bad and Ozark.
Yeah.
Almost, maybe only a handful of people have not said either one of those two shows.
I missed the boat on Ozark, and I auditioned like a handful of times and just never got in there. But that was a fun show. I've gotten to see a lot of my friends on that show.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I never got in there. But yeah, Jason Bateman, I think, is a brilliant creator and writer, director. So it would be really cool to work with that fellow one of these days. Yeah,
definitely.
And actually, so going back to Louis, like two of my favorite episodes of television were from that show, and it was interesting and Parker Posey was in one of them, and Maria Dizia, who I can't remember. She plays Lori in Staircase. She plays Kathleen Peterson's sister, Lori. Okay. She's one of the sisters.
Okay.
And so like it was just, and really there, these two episodes of Louis, like Maria's in one and Parker's in the other, and then I'm working with both of them and on the show, and we were out, and anyway, that was just crazy. That all of a sudden I'm there working on something with those two. They're brilliant actresses, both of them.
That is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. So we have a few questions from our different social media places, and Shelby is going to ask those.
Bring it, Shelby.
So from Facebook, Eve asked, she said, the ladies on Drama Queen have mentioned that you've come from an improv background. Can you tell us a little bit about your improv days?
I'm still living them. Yeah.
Awesome.
It started off, I was a part of a sketch comedy troupe in Wilmington, sketch, not improv. We resorted to improv when we'd forget our lines, but that was frequent. Changing channels. Some of my best friends in the world came from that. Sandy Vaughn, Sam Robinson, Chris Hendricks, Dean Jones, Jeff Pollock, Brandy Laney. My wife joined up in there. Val Watkins. I mean, just anyway, some of the funniest people and best friends in the world. And we wrote some really blue humor. It was all like sex, pee pee poo poo jokes, and that's why we thought that it was brilliant, and it kind of was. But I was a part of that for like 8 years, and then there's a group called The Other Side in Wilmington that let me come and play with them, and they'd come and be in the sketch show every now and then. Mike Holmes and Brian Prince, Jeremy Griffin, Kristen Foster, Airlie Austin, all these cool cats in that. Oh, and Mike Holmes from that show plays Dwayne Deaver, the blood spatter expert, and Staircase. So Mike and I had been on stage together before in Wilmington with The Other Side Improv Comedy Troupe. So I did some improv then. My wife and I did UCB, level 1 of UCB in LA, level 2 in New York. And then moved here to Charleston 5 years ago, and we've been performing. We're company members with Theater 99 Improv Comedy Troupe on Meeting Street. It's a great company. So as often as I can give them a free slate, as often as I can have an open schedule, I go and play with those guys, and they're brilliant. Brandy Sullivan and Brandy and Greg and Camille Lohman, Greg Tavares, Brandy Sullivan. Those are the two founding members, and they're just brilliant. And I use that word. I use that word so much it loses meaning, but I mean it. Like, I don't use it lightly. They're funny, awesome people, and so doing improv still today. Do long form, short form, and it's one of anybody who says that they want to get into acting, that they want to do screen acting. I recommend improv for them, because I think that's one of the. Anytime I'm doing it, I feel like I'm a better performer. Like I'm a better auditioner. I'm just more on my toes. It's all about listening and honest response, and it's just really good acting exercise. So yeah, so that's a little improv. Woo! Theater 99. Go see it on Meeting Street.
So to follow up on that, this is a question just that popped into my head while you were talking. I know you talked about on Outer Banks, some of the younger actors do, like they improvise on some of their lines. I know I've read articles about One Tree Hill that Jackson would remind people of their lines when they forgot them. Did you guys get to improv on One Tree Hill, or was that more of his little job?
Less so. There was less improvisation. Paul Johansson, who played Dan Scott, actually encouraged it more than any director that I worked with there, and he was great and fun to work with as a director, because he would loosen it up. Being an actor and actor's director, he knows you can find gold like that. But it was very different. It was network television, and those scripts, if you want to change a line, they're like, well, we've got to, so they got to call a writer and get approval. And I don't know if that was always the truth. I mean, that was since my character was a little more ancillary, they were like, I wouldn't get as many takes as other people. They did, they're like, if you could just hurry up and get through your stuff so we can get the camera to Chad or to anyone else. And so I was given probably a little less leeway than maybe some other people, but part of it was also just, that's the kind of show it was. It was tightly written, and so less opportunity for it there. But but there are other all the Rough House shows, like Eastbound and Down and Vice Principals, Righteous Gemstones. Those guys operate on a very improvisational level. They've got scripts, but then you have entire takes where they're just like, get from A to B however you want, have fun, and yeah, but not One Tree Hill.
So from Patty on Facebook, she wants to know when season 3 of Outer Banks will be out. Do you have a release date?
I don't. I know we'll be shooting. I mean, but it's usually been like 4, 5, 6 months after we get done shooting the season.
Okay.
So I don't. I'm probably late spring, early summer. Not this spring. But yeah, I have no idea. I anything I would say would just be a stab in the dark. So
Yeah.
So we just
sometime
wanted to be-
in the future.
That's good enough for me.
As long as it's coming out, that's what matters.
Yes.
That's right.
So Jolie on Facebook, she said, on One Tree Hill and Outer Banks, who was the funniest person on set and who made you break your character the most?
On One Tree Hill, the funniest person on set was probably me. Just kidding, but not really. No,
believed you.
You know who was funny? Antoine Tanner was pretty damn funny.
I can see that.
That's a funny guy. So we would crack each other up a lot. But nobody, I mean, you on that show, if you break character or whatever, it'd be because somebody screwed up a line or because somebody took a terrible, like, bricked the ball or what, so where else did it go? In Outer Banks,
Yeah.
who's the funniest?
Mhm.
Again, that's probably me. So they need me around more. Who's funny? Everybody's pretty damn fun. Madison Bailey's pretty funny. She's funny. She's like, she's just, yeah, she can be funny. Rudy's a funny dude, but JD, Jonathan Davis is that guy. That guy will crack you up. He's actually expressed interest in wanting to come up and play with us at Theater 99 sometime. So I hope, and those guys, they're all sweet. First season, before season 2, the season of COVID, they were very supportive and would come out to see our shows at Theater 99. So JD's pretty darn funny. And as far as breaking character, I mean, nobody's really gotten me to break yet on that show. And I'm not extending a challenge.
I think I hear a challenge.
You know who's really damn funny is Chip Eston, who plays Ward. He's a funny dude. Yeah,
We all really
Big
like
fan of
Ward.
his.
But
Yeah.
oh, he's great. He's just
we're not supposed to like him, but
but how do you not? He makes it hard not to like the dude.
Exactly.
He does. So Poke Princess on Twitter said, what was your what was that?
Poke Princess. That's all.
Pogue Princess.
Pogue. Okay.
Pogue.
Pogue.
Good. Gotcha.
Pogue Princess said, what was your favorite thing about One Tree Hill and what do you miss the most?
I mean, the favorite thing would just be that that group, just that family, that family dynamic that gets there, and just like when everybody would be gathered, which was rare that you'd have a lot of the cast members and a scene, but like when we'd shoot the basketball games, and you'd have, and everybody Moira would be there, Barry would be, all the adults would be there, then and all the high school kids would be there, and so between shots, you've got everybody mixing it up, and that was always really cool. And just shooting out at the river court was nice. That's just so beautiful there on the Cape Fear River, and just those chill days of shooting out the river court, looking at downtown Wilmington from that view is it's nice. It's peaceful, and you got good company. Miss all that stuff.
Okay. So Eve said, which cast member would you say is most like their character on One Tree Hill, and which is the most different? And if you want to, you can answer that for Outer Banks too, if you want.
Okay. Most like their character, which is most different. That's tough. I don't know. That's a tough one. Hillary is everything that she wound up bringing to Peyton. I think some of this is like the chicken or the egg, because that's another show where through the years, everybody became, their characters came into clearer view, and in part because of what these actors who were maturing and evolving brought to it. And so by the end of the run, I think the Hillary Peyton line was thin. I mean, they were very similar. But who was not like that character? Who was most Antoine skills was that was Antoine. So by and large, I mean, he was funny as hell, and Paul is a really funny dude too on that show, by the way. But that may be the most similar Antoine skills thing. Dissimilar, that might be Paul. The Dan Scott, the thing, playing the bad Dan, playing the bad dude. I mean, Paul's a funny guy. Dan was a smart ass and funny. They had some similarities as far as they I think a healthy dose of self-confidence in both Paul Johansson and Dan Scott. But Paul was very aware of it, and in a funny way, and a good dude. So I'd say those are probably diverse. Yeah. Anyway, so and as far as who's most like their character in Outer Banks, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Because I mean there are aspects for all of them. It's almost easier to say who's least like their character. I don't know, and I'd almost say that JD is probably is a lot like Pope, just in that, except JD's a lot cooler than Pope. But he does. But he also he's got that cool kind of dork thing going on. He's just a smart dude. JD's just a really smart and funny guy, and see that in Pope too. I think he's a thoughtful guy. And so of course Chip is very much not Ward.
Right.
I don't.
Ooh, thank goodness.
He's not a murderous guy.
That you know of, I mean.
That I know of. And, and I mean, and for that matter, I am so far from a sheriff and from that mentality of like, yes, I might admonish these kids for this and that, but I am not a Shoupe. I'll tell you that. It's interesting. I mean, because again, it's the same thing that I was saying with One Tree Hill. All those actors, those great actors, because of I think Jonas was very smart. They bring so much of themselves to those roles. So there's, it gets blurry, I'm sure. But I know that like Madison Bailey, she is not the Kiara. She's not the outdoorsy, whatever nature girl. She's a little, Madison can be a little she, and so it's funny but she throws herself into that role so well.
Okay, so last social media question. If you could have played a different character in One Tree Hill, who would you have wanted to play?
I don't know. I mean, being that I was like one of the older cast members, I mean, of the younger that was supposed to be younger, like I'd wished I'd been more aptly cast. I was 27 when it started, and I know that's kind of common among shows like that, but having just had a kid, I was aging more rapidly. And so I loved the Keith character. I mean, but I was too young to play Keith. That was cool. And I was too, and of course too young. I loved I was already like, I loved the white coach Durham, like, to have like that grizzled role. You can't do that when you're 27. So I don't know, if I had to pick something more age appropriate, like Mouth, I liked the complexities of his character. That was cool, and I think Lee did great stuff with that.
He's my favorite.
He's a good dude. Fun fact, he went to Wake Forest, where my father was a professor for 4 years, and my dad was his advisor.
Oh, how fun.
Oh, wow.
Before we ever crossed paths on the show.
That's cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. So moving, Amanda has a fun little game that we want to play real quick. So I'll let her tell you about that.
All right. So we just a few episodes ago,
last couple interviews,
we started playing rapid fire questions.
Oh boy.
I'm sorry.
I said, oh boy.
Oh yeah. So it's pretty much
really
the first thing that, it's really
questions.
fast, and it's the first thing that kind of comes to your head. Don't worry, I won't trick you.
There we go.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. Nope. Yep. Okay. Rapid fire.
All right. Ready?
I think.
All right. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Music or podcasts?
Music.
Cake or pie?
Pie.
Football or basketball?
Playing or watching?
Watching.
Basketball.
Movies or TV shows?
Movies.
Burgers or tacos?
Tacos.
Do you eat your taco from the left or the right?
What kind of a
Every time I get to do it.
From the right. From the right.
She
You go from the right.
Yeah.
My right of the taco is right.
Which way do you
from the
go?
right.
Do you move your head?
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
I love burgers. I'm a good burger. I just stopped eating. I don't do red meat anymore. So.
Oh, I know. My doctor said I gotta stop eating red meat. Fun. Passenger or driver?
Driver.
Ninjas or pirates?
Pirates.
Good. Creamy or crunchy peanut butter?
Mm. Crunchy.
It's a hard one, I know.
I've been creamy so long because I've just bent to the will of my family. So.
I already know your answer to this one, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Comedy or horror?
Comedy.
Ranch or blue cheese?
Ranch.
Cookies or brownies?
Cookies.
Karaoke or dancing?
Karaoke.
Summer or winter?
Summer. Tough. It's tough.
I know.
Big win.
Last one, pickles or olives?
Pickles.
There you go.
How'd I do?
You did great.
Awesome.
Okay.
Very quick.
Perfect. And the last thing that we have, or last set of things we have, is a brand new segment that we're starting. So you get to be
Or
our
guinea pig.
here to see if it
Okay.
works. But these are going to be most likely 2 questions. And so you want to answer them with, you can choose One Tree Hill or OBX.
Whichever one comes to
You
your
wanna-
mind first. You don't
Yeah,
have to do
just-
both.
Right, you don't have to do both. But you can pick which character from those shows you think is most likely to do these things.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see. Most likely to marry someone they just met.
I'd say that would be from from Outer Banks. That would be Barry.
Okay.
I see that.
Uh-huh.
Um, and Nick Cirillo. That's what a cool dude. And mostly gonna marry the person they just met. I don't know. I've been disengaged from One Tree Hill for a minute.
I'm going
So,
Lucas.
I was
I'm
gonna
going
say,
to help
you
you.
can
I'm
say
going
Lucas.
Lucas. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's very quick to jump into romance.
It's true.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
see that.
I'll agree with you. Lucas.
There you go. Okay. Most likely to get drunk and lose their wallet or purse.
In life, most likely to get drunk, lose their wallet or purse. I'd say from
And you can do
From
either
one-
or. You don't have to do both if it's that's hard.
okay. I'll go Rudy on I'll go JJ.
That would have
Outer
been my
Banks.
answer.
And get drunk, lose wallet or purse. I'll go Coach Whitey Durham from
Okay. There you
Montreal.
go.
I like it.
Okay. Most likely to help you cover up a crime.
Ooh.
Well, that'd be Rafe. Or yeah, Rafe. I don't know, Rafe or Barry. I don't know. Barry will sell you out.
I think Barry would sell you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rafe would be your guy probably. And help you cover up a crime. That would probably, I mean, Dan Scott, but I mean, he would want his pound of flesh. But
Yeah.
You have to
He's
do
probably
something
helping
for
you
it.
commit the crime, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Most likely to get lost in their own hometown.
Oh man. In their own hometown.
Who's the airheads?
Yeah. Who I mean, who would it have been from? Yeah, I mean, I think it might be Junk and Fergie from One Tree,
Yeah.
because they weren't always with it. I think there was an implication that there might have been some substances involved
Probably.
with those guys. So I think they could easily lose themselves. Outer Banks get lost their own hometown. I mean, Kildare, their own hometown is so tiny. It's little itty bitty Kildare County. So I'm just gonna throw. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, JJ's drunk all the time, so maybe it's him. That
Sure,
loses his
sure.
way.
We'll go another one for JJ. Yeah.
All right, we'll do one more. Most likely to become a social media influencer.
That would be who's the Aussie, the blonde Australian woman, and I can't even remember what she had a brief storyline in Montreal.
Oh,
Her.
yeah.
She came to the door, she flashed mouth, she
Oh gosh, why
I
is
do
it?
remember this.
and they're like, she got a smoothie dumped on her, or did she dump a smoothie on someone else? I'm trying to. Anyway, her.
Sure. Okay.
Montreal. I mean, also, well, Brooke. I mean, I think Brooke too. I mean, she would have done it, but in a savvy way, not an obnoxious way. But on Close Over
Right.
Bros, she would have figured out. She would have wrangled the whole social media thing to her advantage for Close Over Bros for sure, in a good way. So let's change it, switching it up to her, Brooke.
Okay. Brooke it is.
And influencer. It's so I would go immediately to Madison Bailey, but that's Madison Bailey. That's not Kiara. I don't know. It's got to be one of the kooks. So, I mean, it would probably be like Topper or Kels
Yeah.
or something.
I can see that.
He's out,
Yeah. All right.
or maybe even Rose.
Rose
Yeah.
could do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that, definitely. So our final question to everyone on these interviews is just, we want to give you an opportunity to tell us about any upcoming projects you might have that you want to promote. And then if you want to share your social medias so that people can follow you, you can do that too.
Sure. Yeah. As far as projects coming up, if you haven't watched it, The Staircase. Oh, my lamp's falling. There we go. The Staircase on HBO Max. Episodes 1 through 5 out right now. There are 8 episodes in the series. It's a limited series. It's great. True crime drama retelling of this crazy thing. And we got a big role in the first 4 episodes, and come back in the last episode. I play the DA, the prosecuting attorney, Jim Hardin, and that. Really excited. Wonderful cast: Colin Firth and Tony Collette, Patrick Schwarzenegger, everybody in the world is in it. Parker Posey, Michael Stuhlbarg plays the defense attorney. He's just incredible. He's so many good actors. Odessa Young, Dane DeHaan, Rosemary DeWitt, Maria Dizia. Crazy cast. It's just,
It really is.
it's insane.
It's an amazing
Antonio
cast.
Campos, yeah. Antonio Campos, great writer, director. Anyway, check it out. That's really cool. There's also another true crime story coming out. It was, if you look it up, it'll be on Apple TV, dropping July 8th. It's called Blackbird. I've got some stuff in there, but that's with Taron Egerton and Paul Walter Hauser, who's so good, and Greg Kinnear.
Mm,
Oh wow.
okay.
Real good. So that'll be on Apple TV, and that's it for right now. I've got some other irons in the fire. Nothing I can really speak on, but yeah, there's some other cool stuff afoot that I hope I'll be able to talk about soon.
Okay. Well, if you ever, when you are able to talk about those, if you ever want to let us know, we can promote those, in our
Great.
groups and stuff like that. So
Yep.
just let us know. We'd be glad to do that.
Well, thank you, Jeanette. Yeah, I'll do it.
Absolutely. Well, I guess that's it. And we
Is that it?
appreciate,
We did it?
you coming on to talk to us. If, for all of our listeners, make sure to come join our Facebook groups. We have the One Tree Hill Scott Family Fan Club, OBX, the Pogue Family Fan Club, and then Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. That's all Fandom Family Chats. And if you have any, just questions or anything you want to share with us, you can always email us at familyfanclub2021@gmail.com. And again, Cullen, we appreciate you joining us. This has been a good time.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a joy, and thanks for some thoughtful questions. Oh, and I forgot. Yes, I'm Cullen Moss on Instagram, and I think I'm just as original as far as my my handle on Twitter. I think I'm at Cullen Moss on Twitter.
That's easy to remember.
Perfect.
Right?
So it's hard to find me, but Twitter and Instagram, come check me out. Get to know me ish.
Definitely.
Thanks so much for having me. You guys, it was a joy. So,
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
take care, y'all.
You
Bye.
too. Bye-bye.
Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, familyfanclub2021@wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.